And now for something completely different.
Forget everything you've been told by others before. Get ready for the real deal. The full story. Real talk about money, markets, life. Now, it's The Real Investment Show, presented by RIA Advisors.
Well, hello there, and welcome to Financial Fitness Friday. I'm Rich Rosso, CFP, here with Jonathan McCarty. He's got the alphabet soup of certifications for such a young man. Thanks for being here,
it's
Jonathan.
It's the skincare routine, Rich.
Yeah, futures are a little changed this morning. Dow futures up 50, S&P flat, NASDAQ sort of flat. Everything is sort of copacetic. We got consumer sentiment coming out this morning. That will be interesting to see in the face of what we call stubborn inflation. Between Palantir and Walmart yesterday, it was a kick in the groin.
Yeah.
That's how Archie Bunker used to say, groin. It's gives us an opportunity to see where these stocks wind up and maybe increase exposure overall. You know, it's I think it's just a muddle along kind of economy. What I do notice, though, even though the S&P is up close to 4%, European markets are up even more. As we mentioned last year, Jonathan, people are just not paying attention, or they're paying too much attention to the fact that we have more volatility this year. We said you have to curb your expectations this year. You have to realize that last year was a bit abnormal, and 5% pullbacks, 10% corrections, they are par for the course. They are the price of admission for investing in stocks. So you're not going to get anything out of the Fed. Their mandate is pretty healthy on both sides, right? When will the labor market cool? Who knows? More, there's this expectation that it'll be slow, but we got to realize that we're seeing more and more layoffs across the board.
Correct.
That is something I always say, that markets aren't red or blue, they are green. And if there's less cash to be spent and people are spent out, then obviously margins could be an issue.
Right.
And that's something that as I've been reading some transcripts and listening to conference calls, and listen, corporate profits are great. No complaints about that. But what I am hearing across the board is that there's not a lot of pricing power. We don't have $1.9 trillion of money sloshing around in the system, at least not in the consumer's hands when you look at the personal savings rate and where credit card balances are, right?
Correct.
Across the board. So we're also thinking that because of that, tariffs are not going to be as inflationary as markets think. I think if you would have had tariffs when you had all that inflation, people were sort of price agnostic.
Yeah.
Right? If they had the cash, plus they wanted to get out of the house, it was really, we weren't as sensitive to what was going on in our pocketbooks, right?
Well, also, there was, I would say, additional factors that we're not considering, like the lack of supply constraint right now. We don't have supply constraints. So these tariffs are not going to be shoved all the way to the end consumer. They're going to be partially absorbed by any business that's impacted.
That's right. So what happens is demand drops for products with the tariffs. That reduces inflationary pressures, right? Then, if we're looking at Chinese, European, and Canadian tariffs, they're going to have counterbalancing tariffs. So this slow demand for goods and services can absolutely continue. We don't have that post-pandemic, I got to have it, plus you said supply chain disruptions.
Right.
We don't have this massive monetary fiscal stimulus out there to support elevated margins. So here's the problem that you have. Since economic growth and corporate profits are pretty much aligned, what happens to margins? We have to really watch that over the next year.
Yep.
Based on what we're seeing. And we're not seeing employees having the ability to change jobs like they did. Matter of fact, I have some clients who are out of work due to layoffs, and they're a little concerned that maybe it's going to be more difficult to find a job.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they have built up a financial vulnerability cushion. They have a year's worth of living expenses in cash. So this is something I brought up last year, that whoever the president is in this economy is going to have a challenge. What I think even people who voted for Trump and support a lot of the things that he does, on the investment side, they're a little bit more, let's just say, tense, right? They don't like the unpredictability, and markets don't either. But yet markets are still up.
They are, yeah, but they don't.
So you
like
got to look at the
uncertainty.
big picture. It's the path has been different, and obviously it's been much of a more of a broader based, broader exposure. The breadth of the market's been healthier.
It has.
I'm a little obviously confused by the international markets being up more than the domestic markets. I understand valuations are better, but I also understand what I see going on in those economies, and they look like they are in disarray. Maybe it's the fact that we may see an end to the war with Ukraine. Maybe that's part of it. But you got Germany locking up people for free speech. I don't know what kind of a growing economy that means, even though the index is up across the board for Europe.
Well, I think part of that is influenced by, our pause as far as support for Ukraine in the war right now. I mean, you'll see U.S. defense stocks are tanking, whereas international defense stocks are skyrocketing.
Absolutely.
So
Good
there's
point.
a lot of speculation that we're going to be stepping away from the war in Ukraine, and it's going to need to be filled by, the European countries. So they are getting a little bit of lift from that.
Yeah, I think Pete Hegseth sort of put a kibosh on some of the stocks. Although I would think that the spending may be a spending cut, but I don't think it's going to be for what we need, because we know where China is from a defense perspective.
Right.
So here's what markets do. Markets just go out and shoot first and ask questions later. That's just exactly what they do. As an investor, that's very tough for you not to do, but you have to be counterintuitive and not do it.
Yeah.
Because when you really look at it, you're probably going to be spending more on those products from these defense companies. And you are going to, it's just that the money will be spent better, right? You're going to see much more, I think, more money going into the military. Just who knows what kind of needless spending, goes on.
Well, and
dresses for the men and so forth in the military. High heels. We don't want to march in those anymore. Those hurt.
Tough on your calves.
Yeah, they really are. And your cows, too. But these knee-jerk reactions to headlines is not new for markets.
Right. Yeah, and you said it, Rich. Markets hate uncertainty. And so expect to see volatility in any time of transition where we're going to have that uncertainty in markets until we get a clear pathway forward and things adjust and reset.
Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not worried about the Fed. I think they're stuck. We said this last year. Why the heck did you lower rates? Doesn't make a lot of sense. That absolutely is true. I think that we don't have the pricing power. When we had inflation surge in 2020, pricing power, those cost increases went to consumers. Today, as declining demand, and we saw some of that in the Walmart numbers, especially, corporations are going to have to absorb that inflation to sell their products and services, and that is something for us to watch from a profit margin perspective. We get back, we're going to hear about, look at the American Association of Individual Investors. Are the bears coming out? The bears are so cute. Not these bears, though. We'll be right back.
Get daily investment news you can use, delivered at the speed of the internet at realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Social Security Fairness Act dropped elements that reduced Social Security payments, retroactive to last year.
What are you going to do with all that extra income?
Our next Candid Coffee offers savvy Social Security planning if you were dinged by windfall and pension offsets.
Saturday, March 29th.
Richard Rosso and Danny Ratliff answer your question about Social Security benefits and what the removal of WEP GP and GPO means for your retirement. Candid Coffee with Ratliff and Rosso. Register today at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Attention Chevron employees and anyone else receiving or considering a company severance package. We know the process can be intimidating. What should you know to maximize your payout? Lump sum or pension annuity, retirement plan rollover or not? What about tax timing your severance? The fiduciary advisors at RIA Advisors can help you make the best decisions for your situation. Call us today at 855-742-7526. That's 855-742-PLAN. Or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show.
RIA Advisors Research is the envy of the industry. Our economic insights are featured on advisorperspectives.com, Fox Business, and MarketWatch. RIA provides advisors with marketing and back office support, objective research, and holistic, cutting-edge financial planning tools to meet your clients' needs. Want to join a winning team and be part of a fiduciary culture where you can do your best work? Then why haven't you contacted us yet? Go to our confidential advisor hub at realinvestmentadvice.com. RIA Advisors. Big enough where it matters, agile enough when it counts.
And now, another page from the Real Investment Advisors Investing Manifesto. Manage risk and volatility rather than trying to manage gains. You don't have to be right all the time. Long-term investing success is a 70% gain. Let us help you reach your financial goals with RIA Advisors. Neither bull nor bear. RIA Advisors, 281-501-1791 or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
You're listening to The Real Investment Show.
So the one challenge you would have as an investor, we don't believe in diversification across every asset class, which just maybe dilutes your returns. Correlations are so tight, whether I own international stocks, yeah, once in a while they can outperform. But listen, when things go bad, we all go bad.
That's right.
Some sectors roll down the hill slower, but for the most part, you're all headed into the toilet. I mean, that's just the way it works. So we're not in small company stocks. We're not in European stocks at this point. And what I do worry about with small companies is the fact of the debt that they finance. Mm-hmm. And I do believe that these tariffs are going to be a stress on them, right? So they're going to have to hike prices. How much pricing power do they have to do that? Exactly. They don't. Freeze expansion plans. Maybe they have to take, a hit to it, maybe do more of the work themselves. So there is a lot of pressure on smaller companies with this tariff talk because, again, if large companies don't have pricing power, small companies especially
have even less.
Do not. Yep. So it's tough to invest in small caps here overall for us at this point. Listen, we'll go into what we feel is right, or we think there's a longer-term trend. We don't see a longer-term uptrend for European stocks. This is a blip, and then sometimes we will take advantage of that. But structurally, I just don't see the reason to do it overall. So, as a trade, maybe we would look at it. So we don't have to be in every asset class. I mean, I have seen firms and individuals collect investments like people did Beanie Babies back in the day. And yet
baseball cards.
It's if I own everything, I own nothing. Okay, I'm immunized from maybe some risk, but I'm also immunized from return.
That's right.
So pick your spots. Diversification doesn't have to be as diluted. That is the product of Wall Street compliance departments who say you must have your finger in every pie. Okay? You know what that gets you? Type 2 diabetes. Then you need that Wegovy or whatever the heck it is.
Tighter pants.
Tighter pants. Sounds like somebody's talking from experience.
Unfortunately.
You go through that tight pants, tight suit denial where you keep all that stuff, and then you do an Elsa one day and go, let it go. It's not coming back. You can lose some. Not saying that you can't, but there are certain sizes that are no man's land, and they're just not coming back.
Yeah, I finally admitted it to myself and bought my first pair of stretchy waistband old man pants.
Oh, did you really?
Oh, yeah. I joined
proud
the club,
of you.
guys. Thank you. Yes. They're very comfortable. Now I get it.
Yeah. You see? Man, Jonathan is getting there fast. He's getting into that old man groove.
The dad bod caught up with me.
He's getting that dad bod really. He was dad bod before dad.
That's right. I was prepared for this.
He was preparing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, dad bods are in. I think they're still in.
I don't know if that's true.
Really? I don't know. I keep hearing that, oh, man, I need a Snuggie Bear and, I need a dad bod. I don't want some guy with chiseled abs and looking better than I am.
Well, then I'm in great shape.
Yeah, you're looking good, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're not as soft dick as you think you are. You just maybe in your head. Look it up, soft dick, by the way. It's an old word. But I mean, I think in our heads we feel like worse than maybe it is. So
for me, it was the opposite. I feel like I'm in better shape than I actually am. And it was pointed out to me when my brother shared a video of the two of us working on a project up at my father's house.
Uh-huh.
And when you see yourself from the third person view, you're like, who is that guy who's way too overweight in that white shirt? And then I realized it was me.
Well, that camera adds
10 pounds.
Oh,
right?
at least.
Yeah.
I think it adds like 20.
I'm going to go with that. Thank you, Rich.
I would go with that. It just that distortion. You ever take a photograph where someone takes a photograph of you and you're at the edge of the photo? And you look like you're 50 pounds heavier in that edge of, let's take a group shot. Okay, I'm not at the end. I'm in the middle.
It's the fish lens.
Yeah. Whatever it is, it's evil. Just evil. But so sometimes you got to give it up. And I have sort of given up on some asset classes for now, but that doesn't mean you can't revisit them. It's the same thing when people own stock, they get burned on it. But they never look at it again.
Yeah.
Like Lance and CVS. I got him a shirt. It says I heart CVS.
That's awesome.
To give it to him next. But it is, we got consistently kept getting burned, even though valuations on it look great. And then you go, oh, man.
Make it make sense.
Cat on the stove kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you should keep an open mind to all of these things. You just don't have to own them all at once. You just need triggers and so forth to buy it. So I don't see this benefit in dilution. And when markets get volatile, and that's what we're seeing right now. So we're seeing the bears. Ooh, not those cute little bears over at Build-A-Bear. Build-A-Bear has everything but bears now.
Really?
I went through Build-A-Bear and I'm like, there's a panda, which is a bear, but then there's a dog and a cat. I'm like, where are the bears?
It was their DEI initiative.
Well, I do think there was an awful lot of rainbow stuff. So you are seeing much more bearish sentiment among individual investors, right? So we looked at that, I guess, 47.3% in last week's survey from the AAII, highest bearish rating since November of 2023. People are hearing more nervousness from clients.
Yes.
You feel, that frisson is absolutely there. It's not panicky. It's just like, oh, Rich, you told me to curb my enthusiasm. I guess I should. I said, but listen, the markets are up. It's just the way it's getting there, right?
Yeah.
You're not taking this glide. You're taking this roller coaster ride because of the uncertainty. I think especially around tariffs. With Trump coming in and the administration doing things so quickly, some people are going to love that. But Wall Street feels uncertain, right? So that's where you're seeing that regarding the uncertainty surrounding President Trump's economic plans, 57.4% of respondents believe his tariffs will slow growth and increase prices. I think only maybe half that equation is true, and the other half is we've been slowing down.
Correct. As has the rest of the world.
We are going from a government-driven, stimulus-heavy economy back to the private sector. And I have said on this show many times, that transfer is going to look sloppy. So you got to look at your longer-term strategy. You got to stick to the rules that you created to buy or sell. You can't be as knee-jerk as, say, when President Trump comes out and just says something and I laugh it off. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, what did he say? So entertaining. But markets might take it serious. And then it goes away.
Yes.
So if you're making these kinds of moves, you're going to be hurt. And I do think that's a challenge. You got to listen. We do listen to our clients. Those concerns that they might have are definitely valid. And listen, this is coming from people who voted for Trump and didn't vote for Trump. They both have trepidation about this year. And they should. That doesn't mean that stocks are going to fall off a cliff, right?
Right.
Doesn't mean you're going to have major corrections, but markets are going to go without the Fed to support it this year anyway, at least for now. They have to go back to looking at earnings and certain things that may not look too good. I mean, or at least off the high.
Yeah, and like Lance has said many times, sentiment can drive a lot of market performance. So can money inflows.
Big time.
There's the ability to have buoyancy in our current valuations, even in the face of economic uncertainty. But I think you hit it right on the head, Rich. People get very emotionally responsive to these news articles, and it's very important that you take the emotion out of your investment strategy. That's a crucial downfall of many personal investors.
The problem also with these surveys, like University of Michigan and some others, is they have become increasingly partisan. Okay? Democrats will say inflation is going to rise dramatically. Republicans believe inflation is going to fall. Now even that information that used to be somewhat objective is polluted.
Yeah.
So even these surveys are really tough. But even though there's negative sentiment, there have been big capital inflows coming in. We track that.
They have.
We don't see anything big on the horizon. We monitor credit conditions. We don't see anything. But the price of admission and some frustration is going to be what you have to deal with. So emotionally, Jonathan, say I'm an investor, I don't have an advisor. I mean, what do I do? How do I look at this?
You approach it from a mathematical standpoint. You set your risk parameters and you adhere to those risk parameters. And obviously there's always the ability for revision if you get new information that would challenge your original thesis. But I think that taking a more mathematical approach can help you take the emotion out of your investment strategy.
So you're saying more Spock, less Kirk.
Yeah, exactly. Full
Conn! I always thought Cons should have hired William Shatner before they went out of business. And he goes and he buys something from another store. And then he goes to Cons and he walks out going, that the price was lower. Cons! They didn't listen to me. Look what happened.
You're a marketing genius.
Come on. That's good stuff. So I do think that, one, you have to stick to or look to what your plan is saying you need, how well you've done compared to that benchmark rate. And I've noticed people with their financial plans that are not just so investment-centric, they tend to manage their emotions a bit better.
Correct. Well, it helps to know what your target return is. And if you're exceeding that, even if you don't beat the benchmark, it's still a good year.
Mm-hmm. And we took a lot of profits last year, too.
Yep.
All right, we'll be back. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
Real Investment Advice blog. It's required reading for the informed investor. Catch it today at realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Social Security Fairness Act dropped elements that reduced Social Security payments retroactive to last year.
What are you going to do with all that extra income?
Our next Candid Coffee offers savvy Social Security planning if you were dinged by windfall and pension offsets.
Saturday, March 29th.
Richard Rosso and Danny Ratliff answer your question about Social Security benefits and what the
removal of WEP and GPO means for your retirement. Candid Coffee with Ratliff and Rosso. Register today at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Attention Chevron employees and anyone else receiving or considering a company severance package. We know the process can be intimidating. What should you know to maximize your payout? Lump sum or pension annuity, retirement plan rollover or not? What about tax timing your severance? The fiduciary advisors at RIA Advisors can help you make the best decisions for your situation. Call us today at 855-742-7526. That's 855-742-PLAN. Or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show.
Are you a financial advisor sneaking peeks at our stuff? Instead of trying to do it all yourself, why not just join the team at RIA Advisors? Our full-service organization can provide you with the support, unparalleled research, and tools for managing your clients' money and honoring the fiduciary pledge of putting clients' best interests first. Don't take our word for it. Talk to the advisors that work with us. Want to come win with us? Go to our confidential advisor hub at realinvestmentadvice.com. RIA Advisors, big enough where it matters, agile enough when it counts.
Can't catch the whole show now? Listen to our podcast later at realinvestmentadvice.com.
You know, there's been lots of debates over shutting down the Department of Education, and that's really failed as a government agency to ensure that our children are getting a good education. Well, I have further proof it's probably a good idea that we try something different.
The Real Investment Show podcast.
I noticed this morning as I was getting ready for work, I looked at the milk carton and it said expiration date, February the 30th.
Same show, your schedule.
Just curious who was putting the expiration dates on the milk.
At realinvestmentadvice.com.
Apparently I have milk that either never expires.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
And now, another page from the Real Investment Advisors Investing Manifesto. Bulls win in bull markets. Bears win in bear markets. Eagles soar above and take advantage of opportunity. Let us help you soar as you reach your financial goals with RIA Advisors. Neither bull nor bear. RIA Advisors, 281-501-1791 or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show.
If you're working and looking to retire soon, a Medicare special enrollment period is in your future. Understanding Medicare choices, enrollment deadlines, and costs are essential to your overall standard of living in retirement. The wrong choices can cost you thousands in penalties. Make sense of Medicare's alphabet soup with RIA Advisors' online resources and one-on-one partners to help secure the healthcare insurance choice that is right for your lifestyle and budget and avoid gaps in coverage. Click on the insurance tab at realinvestmentadvice.com today. realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show YouTube channel has all our videos ready for your easy access. Subscribe and bookmark our YouTube channel at realinvestmentadvice.com.
You're listening to The Real Investment Show.
So there's something very serious out there called mortu excuse phobia. That's a fear of something. Do you know what it is a fear of?
I do not.
Ketchup. It's a creepy condiment, according to Lee Woodman. She stays clear, and she feels like if you have Heinz on your table, that's the equivalent of being held at gunpoint.
You know, it spells its name different ways. Can't trust it.
She must be fun to date. Don't you think? She says, unfortunately, my nervous system doesn't know the difference between being held at gunpoint and seeing a bottle of ketchup. It's sort of how Lance reacts to milk in his fridge, obviously. I don't think Lance is drinking real milk. I think he's milked an almond or a cashew. What do you think? Or a coconut.
I'd say coconut milk.
You think
Strikes
mostly
me that, yeah,
coconut?
maybe oat milk.
Maybe oat.
Strikes
there
me as
you
an oat
go.
milk kind of guy.
He seems like an oaty kind of oat milky kind. Like he seems like a Yule Gibbons, but with a nastier temperament. So I used to be an old guy that used to promote grape nuts when I was a kid. I used to watch him on TV. I'm like, that guy's still alive? God, what is he, 50? My dad goes, yeah, he's probably around something 50. I went, oh my gosh, people live that long? That's crazy. So she has a panic attack. So she has banned ketchup from her home. So Just kinds of things you got to deal with sometimes when you're dating. Thank goodness I'm not doing that anymore.
Same here.
Phew, man. Your wife's got any phobias? Besides your new Sansabelt slacks?
No, nothing really. She's not a big fan of heights, actually.
Oh,
And
yeah. So heights will do it.
Which I found out on like our second date. You know,
When
we
you
went
took it to the top of the Eiffel Tower or something? What?
we went to Galveston Pier.
Oh.
And you know the flying chairs that spin around and go up in the air. So, hey, do
took
you
her
want to
on
go
that?
ride that? She's like, sure.
Oh,
And-
she said
oh,
yeah?
yeah. I give her credit. She went through the whole thing, but did this nervous laughter the whole time. Just
Why don't you show her the video from China of the
It was
people that
adorable.
were on that ride? Show her the film from China.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, there's no people on that ride. They
Really?
go flying off.
Oh man.
Yeah, one lands like right in the concession stand, their head in the cotton candy.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
strange.
just their head.
She loves roller coasters, but she's just terrified of heights. And like
Some of those roller coasters can go up. I mean, I think you're almost touching God up there when
Oh,
they come.
yeah.
I'm like, what the heck? Is this a roller coaster?
But you're also fully
Course.
harnessed in most of those more extreme roller
Yeah,
coasters.
well.
The chairs at Galveston Pier, I mean, it's just one little metal bucket and a bar across your lap.
That's true.
There's not a lot of restraint there. If things go wrong, it's dicey real quick.
Yeah, I don't know. Heights are definitely a common.
Yeah,
kind
she
of
was
thing.
white knuckling those chains the whole
They
ride.
show videos of these young men and women running the way they film it and then leaping off a cliff into an abyss of water. Like going to, I mean, I don't know how high it is, but that's enough to get the hair on the back of my neck raised.
Yeah, you
like-
feel that in the pit of your stomach.
You do. You
Like,
feel
oh,
like,
man.
oh, like
Yeah.
because they are running, and then all of a sudden there's jump, and there is. I mean, it's a long way down. It's a long way down. So
Approaching
that does
terminal
make
velocity.
you feel strange. Like, wow. I mean, I wish I had the guts to do something like that. But I don't. Especially when I watch all those Japanese videos of the bungee jumpers, and then snapped. It snapped, and she's gone. Or he's gone. It's like, Listen, that would no.
One
Or
thing
the
I've never
gondolas
done.
that get stuck. Even though I do take gondolas when I go to Telluride, but do you ever see when the gondolas get stuck and they have to rescue those people?
Yep.
Dang, that stuff is scary. Well, markets are scary like that sometimes, right? Except we like heights in markets. We don't
New
like
heights.
when they come down.
New
right?
heights is what we like.
We like new heights, new heights in markets. But the planning part of what you do is stuff you can control. Yeah, you can control your buy and sell disciplines. That's important. Having rules, being more Spockish, less Kirkish, as Jonathan said. Conn! But this Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, in our planning software, Jonathan, I'm having a tough time now because our setting is that it sunsets. And until I hear anything that says where it's not,
It's going to.
I'm still skeptical that we're going to have a successful return of that, or at least that remaining in place. There seems to be a lot of confidence, though, by economists and advisors that is going to stay. But for now, we will plan to assume that it doesn't. So the one thing you got to look at is, well, what kinds of actions do I need to take? Even though I still think Roth conversions or contributions are still important, even if we do see some of the reversion in those marginal tax rates, right? People mix up a lot Roth IRA contribution limits and Roth 401k. They have a very hard time breaking this out. They do a good job with traditional IRA versus 401k, but when it comes to Roth IRA and Roth 401k, I have noticed that it's very difficult for people to say, "Oh no, I phase out of that." No. This is a 401k.
Yes.
Right? Does that happen to you as well?
It
You see-
does, yeah. And a lot of people aren't even aware of like the mega backdoor strategy through your 401k.
Yeah, so talk about that, because I went through it with a client yesterday. I asked him if his plan allowed after-tax contributions. He had just gotten a new job. And I said, we're going to do those. And then the company specifically said, we allow backdoor Roths, mega backdoor Roths. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, and obviously you need to have the income to support this strategy, but you can put aside almost $80,000, Chris. I mean, Chris, sorry, Rich, almost $80,000, Rich. Into
Unless I ate all those cupcakes in the fridge. I am not Chris.
I talk a lot to Chris. I apologize.
I know you do.
You can.
He talks a lot.
He's a heck of a talker. Yes, he is.
I don't know where he catches a breath. So go ahead.
But so you can defer additional compensation. Now this is your own salary that you're deferring on an after-tax basis, so you need to be sure that you can afford to set aside that much in any given year. But you can absolutely maximize your Roth contributions through a mega backdoor strategy to the tune of about $80,000 a year. A little under, I think it's 78 if I'm not mistaken.
It's big.
It's big.
So you got,
tax-free.
First of all, your plan has to allow that.
Correct.
You have to realize that you're putting that money away after tax, so there's no current tax benefit. And you need to be deemed, as I call it, a super saver.
Yes.
And there are a few people that are out there. They have that discipline.
That's true.
To do it. And then that money can do your mega backdoor Roth every year. That's extremely powerful.
Absolutely.
Again, not every company offers it. It's just like your 401k, your pre-tax match, right? So you have clients that say, "Oh, you as a listener, you are contributing. You listen to us. You've contributed to your Roth 401k. You get a 3% match." And companies are saying, "No, your match goes into the pre-tax bucket."
Yes, they want that tax deduction.
Technically, based on the Secure Act, they should be able to do that in after-tax, but that is not mandatory. So some companies are doing it. Frankly, I have yet to find a company that is allowing the after-tax match, to your point.
I haven't either.
I don't think it's very popular. But what is going to happen, I think, coming up next year, is the fact that if your adjusted gross income is over $145,000 and you make Ketchup contributions, you're 50 or older, that money has to go into Roth.
Really? Mm-hmm. I have not heard that. It's good to know.
Oh, maybe I just made it up.
How you know?
Check it. Your Ketchup contributions have to go to Roth. So companies are going to have that part of the mechanism. Because what they're saying is, the government's saying is, if you don't allow that, we will stop Ketchup contributions for everybody.
Well, that's quite a stick.
Mm-hmm. So I always call the Secure Act the Rothification of the Rothification Act, because Roth is where the government needs cash now, and that's where we have to do that. So Roth conversion. So I talked to someone yesterday who's still working, high income earner, and he wants to do Roth conversions. And I'm like, listen, you're going to retire. You're going to be a young retiree. This is not the time for you to do these Roth conversions.
That's right.
First, if I'm under 59 and a half, how does that work? Say I do want to do Roth conversion.
Yeah, I mean, you are going to pay the taxes due on the converted amount, but you're also going to be subject to the additional penalty for early withdrawals from your IRA.
We don't want to do that.
We don't want to do that.
But what you can do is switch off the pre-tax, dial down the pre-tax at your company, increase the Roth. So maybe they don't allow their matching contributions to Roth, but certainly more and more companies have to have that Roth 401k mechanism in place to abide by what the government is saying we're going to need to do. Yeah. So I told him, he's right now doing half and half. Mm-hmm. He's putting a little bit, he's doing the max, but he's doing both. And I said, listen, shut it off on the pre-tax, go 100% into Roth. He's going to retire in about 4 years. I said, you'll have a nice bucket of money, right? You do want to realize gains. That's something you want to do from a tax perspective. Whether or not the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act returns or not, we're going to talk about how you can lock in these current rates if future rates go higher on taxes. It's we don't know yet. Hopefully the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act stays in place, but I am not confident that that's the case. We'll be right back.
Get daily investment news you can use, delivered at the speed of the internet at realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Social Security Fairness Act dropped elements that reduced Social Security payments, retroactive to last year. What are you going to do with all that extra income? Our next Candid Coffee offers savvy Social Security planning if you were dinged by windfall and pension offsets. Saturday, March 29th, Richard Rosso and Danny Ratliff answer your questions about Social Security benefits and what the removal of WEP and GPO means for your retirement. Candid Coffee with Ratliff and Rosso. Register today at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Attention Chevron employees and anyone else receiving or considering a company severance package. We know the process can be intimidating. What should you know to maximize your payout? Lump sum or pension annuity, retirement plan rollover or not? What about tax timing your severance? The fiduciary advisors at RIA Advisors can help you make the best decisions for your situation. Call us today at 855-742-7526. That's 855-742-PLAN. Or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show.
RIA Advisors Research is the envy of the industry. Our economic insights are featured on advisorperspectives.com, Fox Business, and MarketWatch. RIA provides advisors with marketing and back office support, objective research, and holistic, cutting-edge financial planning tools to meet your clients' needs. Want to join a winning team and be part of a fiduciary culture where you can do your best work? Then why haven't you contacted us yet? Go to our confidential advisor hub at realinvestmentadvice.com. RIA Advisors. Big enough where it matters, agile enough when it counts.
And now, another page from the Real Investment Advisors Investing Manifesto. A passive investment portfolio requires active risk management. It's not a choice, it's necessity. Diversification doesn't protect against risk of loss. Let us actively help you reach your financial goals with RIA Advisors. Neither bull nor bear. RIA Advisors, 281-501-1791 or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
You're listening to The Real Investment Show.
So taxes are always important. I like when Lance always says, listen, you can't let taxes dictate everything that you do, because, I mean, I have some people that I know that would prefer their big gains go to losses before they sell, because they're that ticked off about paying taxes. I mean, I think that's sort of, ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, profit's a profit, right? I mean, I'm not going to let it go to a loss just to stiff the government. They don't care.
Hey, I mean, if I'm paying taxes, I'm making money. So
Right.
that's a win.
I'm not stiffing the government. I'm stiffing me.
Yeah.
So, sort of a weird way to look at it. Maybe there's a phobia for that. Tax avoidance phobia something.
I have a phobia of the IRS, so I get it.
Me too.
Traumatic past experience.
Yeah. Maybe it's the computer systems from 1987.
Yeah, green screen DOS. Oh, yeah.
You get that blinking cursor. Who's got the floppy disk for McCarty's tax return? We're auditing him this year. He cannot deduct the price of Sansabelt slacks. It is not a deduction.
That's why I itemize everything, and I include pages and pages of receipts. You guys want to go for it? You're going to earn it.
Looks like a lot of the big talk radio stars, they know they're going to get audited pretty much every year. So they are incredibly thorough. And even then, they're still audited. I think Sean Hannity's audited every year. It's time to audit Sean Hannity again. So one thing you want to realize, you do want to realize your gains. Obviously, we prefer long-term capital gains that in some cases could be taxed at zero or at lower rates than ordinary income tax rates. We will also tax loss harvest throughout the year, right? If we feel that the company's not going to come back or we can wait 31 days, we will go ahead and do that. But that's an ongoing strategy. I still think that if I have a profit and I'm worried about the organization that I'm investing in, that I won't let the long-term capital gain preferable tax treatment wag that dog. I'm still going to sell as a short-term capital gain, which would be taxed, generally speaking, as ordinary income. But you do want to be cognizant. Last year was a good year to do a lot of rebalancing. We did it in this year too. So we always work around the edges and trim profits out of positions.
That's right.
So you got to transition a business. That takes some work. I'm a certified exit planning advisor. That is a specialized kind of field where, it's called the endowment effect. I think my business is worth so much more because I'm part of it. Realize that because you're part of it and you're the front man, that the business is probably not worth what you think.
Right.
So to go through an honest valuation and looking at the quantitative and qualitative factors that fit to get the most compared to your peer group is very important.
Right. What's a reasonable multiple?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's amazing, and again, why? Because that's your baby.
Exactly.
People do that with their homes. Like my house, yeah, every house on this block's $500,000, but mine's worth $8. Uh-huh. Okay.
And I'm being conservative.
Yeah. How could it not be? Then you come to this slow roll realization that it's nobody. I'm not getting any offers. I always find sometimes that some realtors have a problem with that. Not tenured realtors. I was like, listen, buddy, you got to get with the program. This is what the market dictates. You can try this, but why don't you also get a scratch off on the way home?
Yeah, I've also seen that in my existing clients, who inherit properties. A lot of times it's their childhood home. They have an emotional attachment to it, and
That's
they want,
right.
I know it's going to be worth this much, and they can sit on the market for months, upwards of a year. I have one specific client who's dealing with this right now, who's inheriting a property, and it's between a number of siblings, and they all have to agree on what they're going to try and sell it for, and that's a challenge.
That might be messy.
Yeah, I mean, getting me and my two brothers to agree on anything is about impossible.
Yeah, I mean, to all agree, because, oh, no, we got to keep it. Oh, no, we need to sell it. If we sell, we need to wait. No, I need the cash now. Oh, my gosh.
Exactly. A lot of competing priorities.
I am so thankful to be an only child. I cannot even tell you.
I just consider myself one.
You do?
Yeah,
You doing that now?
I act unilaterally.
Okay. Well, that's good. Allows you to stay independent and say, listen, guys, I don't need y'all. I love you, but you're going to bother me. Stay away. Lance does that with me. Yeah.
Me too.
Got the mode up. You want to look at your, listen, the federal estate tax exemption is pretty decent. Not many people are going to hit that.
Yeah. We hit 13.99 million this year, right?
Uh-huh.
Next year, who knows?
Yeah. Jonathan's the only one who's going to hit that. All of us, we're not there. But I have people that will let that drive their decision. Well, I don't have to worry about the exemption. Well, that's not even part of your estate plan. You got to get the foundational basics. Everybody needs those. Right? You're not even doing that. And who knows where the estate tax goes over the next few years.
Correct.
I remember when the estate tax exemption was close to $600,000 and we were doing AB trusts. We were making sure because spouses notoriously lose their exemptions. They stack up the second estate. It's just not something they think about.
Yeah.
So we went through a lot of wasted exemptions when it comes to estate planning. So the fact that the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is going to be more and more in the news, and there's nothing you can do to change whatever's going to happen. We'll have to change our software, but that's okay. But what's important is that it might get you to focus on some of the tax strategies that you need to take throughout the entire year. We only focus on taxes, like at the end of the year, we focus on harvesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big headline. Why aren't you harvesting all year?
Yeah, I mean, the market's fluctuating. You should be as well.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to wait till the end of the year. If a stock is not performing or say fundamentally something has changed, well, why am I holding on to it?
Yes.
I will have gains. If not, I can carry forward losses.
Yep.
Now, some argument that I get is, well, I'll be dead before I use all those carry forward losses.
I hear that.
I get that. But you still should keep track of them, and that should make your after-tax money more fluid when you do have gains. But I ask clients what they are, and I keep track of them. But I think what the government knows is they'll forget. They got losses from the financial crisis.
Forget all about those.
You forget all about it. I brought that up to someone, I guess, about 2 weeks ago. I said, I remember, not a client, but I said, I remember when you had all those massive losses. He goes, because he's looking about taking a gain in NVIDIA and all that. And he goes, so I made an assumption before I said anything. I made an assumption that he sopped up all those losses based on the performance of the market, but he had been pretty much out of the market. So he has not used any of those losses.
Ouch.
So he goes, oh my gosh, I forgot all about those. He goes, my tax accountant never brings that up. I said, well.
Time for a new accountant.
Time for a new accountant, but it's also a long time ago. How many times have you changed accountants since the financial crisis?
Yeah, good point.
And he goes, 3 times. I'm like, yeah. So you need to let maybe the tax advisor should ask, do you have any carry forward losses? But it's up to you to say, hey, by the way, this is what I have. He goes, oh my gosh, thank you. He goes, I totally forgot about that. That'll stop, I'll still have losses.
Yeah.
Even when I take all these gains. So he did pretty well on a few stocks, and he wants to trim them out. So don't see anything wrong with that. So also I did get this. I had this conversations with clients about UTMA accounts, custodial accounts. And wonderful clients, and they go, my son's getting married. He's in his 30s. And we'd like to gift him his custodial account. I'm like, you did that a long time ago.
I was going to say, a little late.
If he doesn't know about it, that's a problem. There have been lawsuits.
Yes.
He knew about it. And he was like fine with not changing registration on it, but now he will. So when you have these custodial accounts that you open up for your kids, remember that at the age of majority, it's their money. And they can take it, and they can do whatever the heck they want. I don't see them as I see them more as training wheels. In other words, if I want to give my daughter $500 to invest in stocks or understand stocks, $1,000, $2,000, if it, age of majority, she takes that money and blows it on her boyfriend, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
But I'm not. Years ago, when I first started, people would put mega dollars in these things.
Yeah. Well, no, there's better vehicles, and
absolutely.
You brought up the point around the change in the estate tax, and while it may be extending the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, there's no guarantee that's going to happen. And even if they do extend it, there's always the potential that another administration down the line is going to see, well, we have these funding shortfalls here, and here. Let's revise this Tax Cut and Jobs Act that we passed and return some of those higher tax rates. So, there's no guarantee that that's going to continue indefinitely. So if you're thinking that you're going to rely upon the current rates of where we're at on the estate tax and gift exemption and to continue to inflate those forward, I think that's short-sighted. You're looking at where tax rates are at in this country, and we've got a very significant shift in demographic. And I talk about this a lot with clients. When you're considering if you're going to give things away to one of your children, before passing away, we expect to see a lot of volatility around those tax rates because of the smaller and smaller pool of working age adults we have.
That's right. That's right. Hey, listen, Savvy Social Security Planning, someone that has WEP, GPO, they have pensions elsewhere. Now they're going to collect Social Security. Saturday, March 29th, 8 to 9 Central Time. Live stream webinar on StreamYard.com. Sign up at realinvestmentadvice.com. Take a look at the recent articles we've written at Real Investment Advice, Lance Roberts newsletter in your email box every Saturday morning with his grumpy face on it. No grumpy face, just the wonderful information. Thank you all. Stay warm. Have a great weekend. Lance will see you on Monday.